Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over some of the best singles to buy under $50. I know a lot of hype and stuff has gone from the Pokemon market in recent times, but I still think a lot of cards are pretty ripe for growth, especially ones that are getting older, and a lot of them have seen huge dips that I think might not be a bad time to buy into. So first we got this Bulbasaur that is the Mega Evolution stamped version. This comes in enhanced booster boxes similar to the Ends Reshiram, which is also on here from Journey Together. And as you can see, once the enhanced booster boxes first came out, they dropped really far down to like around $10 a piece, but people quickly started buying these up because they anticipated that maybe these will be really good in the future. As you can see, they've been seeing some pretty interesting price growth. You can see some kind of price manipulation. These like soar up and then they crash back down. But overall, if you bought at the bottom, which was around 10 bucks, it's gone up $7, which is not bad overall. I think we're actually going to continue to see this trend go up. And so for the Bulbasaur, you could wait a little bit for this to drop even further, but I don't think it's going to see the same bottom as the Ends Reshiram because Bulbasaur is a more popular Pokemon and the art is actually fantastic here. So I think buying right now is not a bad idea at all. You could even wait until it reaches like $15 to $16 or something and buy then, but I think for $18, this art is really solid. The stamp is interesting. And yeah, it's an interesting card, but it is very new. Same with the Haunter that just recently came out. This is a Mega Evolution promo. You can see it's around the $20 mark. I think it's actually a pretty solid Haunter card. It is the first ever illustration rare of Haunter we've ever gotten, which is cool. It's not the first one Haunter's been featured in. I believe that would be the Ghastly illustration rare from Temporal Forces, but in terms of just a pure Haunter card, this is the first one. I think the art style is actually pretty solid. And I think it's a cool looking card. Would definitely pick this up if it drops even further, but looks like it's crashed really, hard from its initial release. Moving on to other cards, we have stuff like Destined Rivals. This Meowth really jumped up around September to $36, but as we've seen with the recent market trends, it has kind of come down in the last month or so. Overall, I think this card is really solid. It had an all-time low of $24, and we're kind of heading back down there to around $27. You can find near mint holofoils for around $22. Do not buy the Japanese versions of these when you come to the English side. The reason that they put these other language listings is so that you think that it's worth this price because you see the other listings, and they'll try and market just a little bit below the lowest listings on here. But Japanese is always going to be even less expensive than the English version, so don't buy from Japanese sellers like that. Yeah, I think this card is really solid. It's a very cute art style. I think it'll do well as a Destined Rival ages, and it's near its all-time bottom, so not a bad pickup. Same with this Articuno from Journey Together. I think this is one of the best cards from the Journey Together set. I would even recommend looking into the PSA 10 versions of this, but this video is all about cards under $50, so I'm not going to recommend the PSA 10 slab of this, but it has a pretty low gem rate. It's hard to get this in a 10. The price continues to drop. Now, more Journey Together packs are getting entered into the market over and over again, and so the supply of the Articuno is going to continue to increase. But again, the PSA 10 will kind of give you a bit of a barrier because the amount of PSA 10s is limited by the gem rate, which is around 30%. I checked the pop reports and it is a little hard to grade this card. So I would definitely recommend trying to send one in if for grading if you have any, copies lying around. But I think for $17, a near mint, holofoil is not a bad pickup at all. You can find them for around even $15, which I don't think is a bad buy at all. I think it's a very solid looking card. Next, we have Latios from Surging Sparks. This is one of the best illustration rares we've gotten in the Scarlet and Violet era. I don't think how many people realize like Latios and Latias are some of the most popular Pokemon in general, and this Latios connects really well to the Latios from Surging Sparks as well. And since Surging Sparks is getting a huge, massive reprint, the card is dropping pretty steadily right now. And it started around $50, crashed down to $20 when Surging Sparks got a reprint, but it was climbing back up, and however now it is dropping again. And so I think now might not be a bad time to pick it up as Surging Sparks is seeing this big reprint, because I think it's going to rebound come holiday season, and maybe we get more reprints focused on 151 or Prismatic Evolution. So I think this Latios is a good buy. Next, we have Latias from Crown Zenith. Now, this is not the Latias from Surging Sparks, but I think it's a very cool looking Latias. It has recently jumped up in price. That is something to keep in mind. But I am able to find holofoils lightly played, it looks like, for around $12, and then near mint for $13, which I don't think is a bad buy at all. It's a very fun looking art from the Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery. Crown Zenith, obviously, as we know, is getting more and more expensive every day. It's a Sword and Shield set, so it has that yellow border. Typically, I'm not a huge fan of the yellow borders, but I actually think it works really well with this Latias. Then we have Deerling and Sawsbuck. Now, these cards connect in a really, really nice way. I think it's one of the most unique cards we've ever gotten, and it's from Temporal Forces, which I'm not anticipating us getting many more reprints. It's been steadily climbing since around June when it had its all-time low, but I do think that there's actually a lot of potential for this card in the long term. I think it's a really solid-looking artwork that connects really nicely. These aren't the most popular Pokemon by any means, but it's such a unique artwork that I think it will kind of sustain itself throughout time. So I'm curious to see how this does in the future, and would definitely like to have this in my collection. I think it would look really good in a binder or something. Next, we have one of the best SIRs from 151. It's a little bit above $50, but I had to include it. I think this Alakazam Slice of Life-esque card is really unique, and I really would love to have this in my collection. I did sell it for around like $50 because I bought it much cheaper than that when 151 was more available, and I saw it reached like an all-time high. I was like, okay, I need to sell it and get rid of it. But it since dipped to 35 when 151 got a huge reprint. It spiked back up to 60, and now it's back down to 40. So this card is seeing a lot of price fluctuations. I think it's really market dependent on where this card goes, but I think it is a solid card. And so I think if you just buy it and you hold on to it, you'll probably do good in the long term. I could see this being a $100 card in 2 to 3 years, easily. It's a very nice looking card. You can get Nearmint Holofoils for honestly pretty cheap. And yeah, I think it's a solid card. Solid SIR for only $50. Next is something that's a little more interesting. I saw this and I'd never really seen this card before, but it's Ash's Pikachu with the hat on. We don't really get any kind of Ash card in the TCG, which I've always found to be interesting. Now, this, I believe, was a movie promotion for, the Pokemon movie I Choose You, which, by the way, if you watch that movie, I thought it was very okay. Not my favorite movie, honestly, but, it was all right. It has been seeing some really big price jumps recently. I think people just, I don't know, maybe they're really interested in all of a sudden, but it's around $33. I thought it was a very unique card. Let me know if you're interested in, or if you know anything about this, but yeah, it seems to have gone up a lot in price. There's around 3 pages of supply, so it seems like there is a decent amount of supply out there, but yeah, I think it probably came sealed when you tried to go buy or watch the movie or something in person, perhaps. Came out in 2017. Yeah, it looks like. So that's cool with the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So it's a very unique card. I think it'd be a cool buy. Next, we have Lugia V from Silver Tempest. This is like the budget Lugia from Silver Tempest. Obviously, the amazing alt art one is much more expensive, but I actually think the art here looks really solid. This reminds me of the Gengar VMAX that is currently around $20 to $30. Because the Gengar alt art is so expensive, people are actually settling for the cheaper Gengar in the set because it's also a pretty interesting art. And this art looks really good. It's by Arita. He did, a lot of Pokemon art in the past. Obviously, he's a very prolific Pokemon artist. He's been around for a long time, but I think this art looks absolutely stunning. I mean, Lugia coming out of the water looks really solid. I have this card in person. And I think, honestly, for $9, it's not a bad buy. I could see this becoming a big chase in Silver Tempest as the set gets more expensive. It's not a hard card to pull, but, when the set gets more and more expensive, naturally the cards will rise in value. And I think this one it's pretty decent for what it is. It looks really good. It almost could be like an illustration rare, right, in today's standards. So I don't think it's a bad buy at all. On that same kind of train of VMAXs and Vs being somewhat decent, the Snorlax VMAX is really solid. You have, this entire like world on top of his belly. I think this is one of the better VMAX forms that they've released. Really wish we got an alt art for Snorlax. That would have gone so hard, but it has been dipping recently. It reached an all-time high of around $60, and now it's back below 50. So I think now might be a good time to pick it up before it goes back up. And yeah, could be pretty interesting. Again, a Sword and Shield base set, not many boxes of it left. People are not really ripping it open at mass amounts, so I think the supply is somewhat stable at this point. Another really unique card is this Pokemon V-Union. Now, this was a promo, so it is everywhere, but we know what happens with promos that are extremely popular. I've talked about this promo before. I genuinely think this is going to be one of the best promos from the Sword and Shield era. It's so unique. We know, Pikachu cards do really well in the future, but a Pikachu card with this kind of, gimmick where it's all these different art styles and a bunch of different Pikachus on 4 different cards, even just collecting one section of this card is still very fun. That's the only problem I have with V-Union cards is you need all 4 of them to look good. This one naturally actually is kind of built against that because you can just have one section and you immediately have so many different versions. You know, you have this Scream Pikachu, you have this kind of derpy Pikachu. I really love the way that they did this card. I think it's going to be a solid pickup and honestly just hold for the long term. I could see this being much more expensive than $20 into the near future. Next, we have Cerulege from Surging Sparks, kind of similar to the Latias. It's really, really low right now. I think it does not deserve to be this low. Cerulege is one of the best, Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet in general, so we definitely consider picking this up. Next, we have Giovanni's Charisma, and I think as 151 gets more and more rare, this card is going to do better and better. It is an SIR. It's hard to pull, comparatively, right, to other cards in the set, like an illustration rare, but it's pretty cheap for what it is. You have a Persian, you have Giovanni, you have the Master Ball, a chess game going on, all these different Pokeballs in the background. It's a very detailed card, a very nice card, and I think it deserves to be a little bit higher. The PSA 10 is also pretty hard to grade, if I remember correctly, and it's honestly very good looking. So definitely would recommend that. And my last pick is something that's a little interesting and somewhat like a card I don't think many people talk about. It's the Secret from the Lost Origin Trainer Gallery, specifically the Mew. Now, I am really interested to see how these cards do in the future. There is a Rayquaza card like this in Silver Tempest that I think looks really solid, but it's this like all black plus gold plus pink highlight that is very unique to me. I don't think we've ever really gotten a card like this before. It's super, super reminiscent of the Sword and Shield era, and I'm curious to see if this does well in the future. Obviously, Mew is a very popular Pokemon. This kind of like black, high contrast black and gold card is very unique. So yeah, we'll see if it does well. Let me know if I missed any cards that I should have talked about in this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.